Call Ascension Parish Council meeting of February 16th to order. Mr. Martin McConnell, would you please lead us in prayer?
Proud to. Our Father in heaven, boy, we thank you for this beautiful weather that you have been blessing us with. We've been enjoying it so much. We hope, we ask, we pray that you will continue to bless us with the beautiful weather and all of the blessings that you have given us, that you've blessed us with, that you've honored us with. Thank you, Lord, also for the stewardship that you have given us. It's a big responsibility that we have to steward and to shepherd and to work for your people. And we hope, Lord, that we do it. We know that we do it to the best of our abilities, but please give us the wisdom, the guidance, the understanding, the patience that we need to do the work of your people. We ask always that you look after our brothers and sisters in uniform who are protecting our lives tonight, whether they be here or in faraway lands. Please look after them, keep them safe, bring them home to their families safely and soon. Please also look after all of our leaders, our elected officials, anybody who makes the attempt, makes the effort to work for you, to work for your people. Father, guide us and bless us and protect us as we work for the betterment of your people. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Dunn. Councilman Thomas is absent. Number 3, Chair's addition. I'm going to request a 2/3 tonight. The parish president is going to talk about a letter that he sent to the Secretary of State regarding the latest census report. Got a motion by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Clontino to add it to the agenda. Is there any questions? Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes, and we're going to put that under the parish president's report. Okay? Number 4, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items, please sign in with Ms. Suzanne, Secretary. Number 5, the consent agenda. To adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of January 19th.
I move to adopt the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a motion by Mr. Martin McDonald, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any question? Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 6, any presentation, Ms. Suzanne? No presentation. All right. Number 7, parish president report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to go to the podium so I can give you some things. Mr. Guidry, you'll have some handouts for you.
You don't have a PowerPoint, do you, Mr.
No,
President?
sir. We're just going to do a couple charts, but we're going to wait.
Thank you.
We're going to give a PowerPoint of the Year award. The staff voted on that yesterday. I shared with Martin and Jerry this afternoon, and it's going to be like the Academy Award.
Did I win?
Not yet. Votes are still being tabulated, Mr. Barger. I just want to talk to you on 3 or 4 things tonight, and one of the things that we'll start off with is something very important because it's gone to litigation. And when you get home tonight, you'll have an email copy of a letter from Jones Walker. And we have Mr. Bill Schutte here tonight. If you stand up, he's one of the attorneys representing the parish government with Jones Walker. And it's important that we all understand a couple things. And our attorneys have advised us that the claims against the parish officials and agencies are procedurally and substantially inappropriate. Now, because we are in litigation, the attorneys have advised all of us, both elected officials and those who work in parish government, to be quiet on this issue. It's in litigation now, and so first briefing will be held tomorrow when you get home, if you see the actual letter from Jones Walker, if you had questions, you can call Mr. Ricky Babin, our legal counsel. You can ask him about it. The other thing we have is I want to talk just a couple minutes on drainage. Mr. Guidry has some handouts for you. Obviously, this issue has been going back and forth now for several months. And as I told you a while back, the executive branch of government sent a letter to both the district attorney and the attorney general of the state of Louisiana asking for a legal opinion. You're getting a copy of those letters tonight. We still haven't received them, and they're working on those. But I think it's important that you have this so you can see exactly what we're asking. In visiting with several people who have been involved in parish government since the time of the Charter Commission and since then, that they understood this issue was going to be a difficult issue because in reality, the way the two drainage boards are situated, you don't have balance of power between both bodies of government or between both. So these letters will just help you see the question I asked so we can try to get some clarification and resolve some of the misunderstanding, contention. A lot of people in the parish community feel like the parish president has more influence in this than that he does. Obviously, executive branch right now just has a management contract with the two drainage boards. And so those letters, if you have questions, you can welcome to call me and we'll talk to them about it in one-on-one. Now another thing that we talked about a few months ago was this whole history of major drainage canals. And so we've given you two documents. Do they have them too, Charles? One back in 1984, I think it was. At that time, the state had a public works department. And when the drainage plan was being put together, as it evolved from the city of Gonzales into a parish plan with the police jury over about 3 or 4 years, they went to the State Department of Public Works to identify those natural drainage channels that would be part of this plan and granted a right to the parish government or the police jury at that time to specify that these channels are natural drainage and would become part of the drainage plan. If you see a second document that was adopted by the police jury at that time, accepting these channels into the parish drainage system. And what that does is gives us some servitude rights, maintenance rights primarily along those channels within 100 feet on either side. And the more I learn about this, the more I understand that many of our citizens really didn't understand that this is taking place. And this has become an issue sometime when people have been allowed to build a building within those servitudes, because obviously if we have a maintenance servitude, a right, we don't have construction rights, you have to buy that, but we have a maintenance servitude. And obviously if a building is built within that, we can't go through and cut grass and maintain it. And so you need to be aware of all of these canals and channels. And so those are the original documents as far as I can ascertain, work with Mr. LeBlanc and others who have been around a long time, and Mr. Babin. In addition, if you're interested, you'll see 25 or 30 different legal opinions that have been given since 1984, some by the Attorney General's office, some by the district attorney's office representing either the parish government or the drainage boards. And if you want copies of all those, we'll be happy to get them to you so you can see that this issue has been going back and forth for a long time. We've been, one time, you may recall, even had a fight in a meeting between two gentlemen over drainage issues. And so trying to make sense out of all this and put it together, we're trying to get you to all the history and documents. A month from tonight, Mr. Rue and other members of the administration will give you a more formal presentation of the income, the sales taxes that have come into these districts, how that money has been spent, what was the anticipated cost of the drainage plan that was adopted by the voters in '84, and what parts of that plan were completed, what parts of that plan are projected to be completed in the future. And hopefully as we all look at this 25-year history basically, we'll begin to realize and we'll get some sense out of this, and we'll come together as a group of elected officials and take the politics out of drainage and try to really focus on what's best for our citizens when it pertains to drainage. And we're all going to have to make some compromises and work on this to come together on this drainage plan. And so a month from tonight, we'll give you a more detailed report on this whole issue. And the next thing we have is we received from the treasurer of the state the report from Louisiana Tech, which is a mid-year census report. In between the census years, Louisiana Tech University, I think, has a contract with the state to estimate populations by parish. And some of the monies that we receive from the state is based on those population estimates. When we got this report in, and it's usually 6 or 7 months behind before we get it. So this report most recently is for July of 2005. And obviously that took place before the storm. And we got it just recently, around the end of January, 1st of February, from John Kennedy, our state treasurer. And in that report that he sends us, he asks us to look at it and to get back with him quickly if we protest or in any way feel that there's anything that's not accurate in there. And basically, they were only showing a population increase for Ascension Parish of about 1,000 people from July of 2004 to July of 2005. And our building permits alone in the residential building area was more than 1,000. And so obviously there were some things there that didn't add up. And based on those population numbers, money coming to us is based on those numbers. And so what we need the council to do tonight is just ratify our protest of that. And so this can take place to try to get a more accurate number of what our population was. I think all of us realize that we certainly had more than 1,000, 1,100 people from July 05 to July 04. That concludes my report. We need a motion, Mr. Chairman, from governing authority to ratify this action. We did it quickly because we needed to do it. We didn't think we needed to call a special meeting to do it because, as we talked to a couple of you individually, and as a building department researched the permits and so forth, it was obvious to us that some mistakes have been made somewhere. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions for the parish president in regards to the report for the census?
I move to ratify.
Second.
Report of the administration.
Got a motion by Mr. Martin McConnell, second by Mr. Thompson, to send Mr. Kennedy, Secretary of State, resolution where we are denying or
Protesting.
the census numbers. All right. Any questions? Any opposition? Having that motion passed.
The last thing, Mr. Chairman, is that Martin and Jerry and I and Ricky and Don met this afternoon for a good while to talk about some issues, and obviously transitional housing has become an issue in our parish and has been for 6 months, I guess. But we're going to give you, Charles is giving you now, the present ordinances allow things that you may or may not be aware of. And one of the things that we've done in the last couple of weeks is to direct the Building and Development Department to inspect all mobile home parks, to look at the regulations. And so the letter I sent to FEMA and the executive orders I've done the last couple of weeks basically put a stop to all housing of people who needed housing. And we all know that there are some people living with relatives primarily. I think the ones we have left in our parish are living with family members and so forth. So I asked Planning and Development to work with Mr. Guidry to identify people who have come forward and said, we've got a hardship. You know, we've been living here with family. We got 18 people living in this home. We need to do something else. And so you've been given a list. You see what districts they're in. And we understand from the Strategic Planning Committee meeting the other night, we want to look at this on a case-by-case basis. So we give you that. You can identify those within your district. If you have questions, you can get with Mr. Don Heisel or Mr. Fansett over the department, and we can talk about that. If you have questions on what the zoning allows or doesn't allow when additional residence is placed on an existing resident, please get with those gentlemen to discuss that as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any questions for the Parish President? Moving on to number 8, Finance Committee report. Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last week, and we came up with several recommendations. Item number 8A is to consider the 2006 Cooperative Endeavor Agreement between the Parish of Ascension and Volunteer Ascension. This is an ongoing commitment that the parish has had for some years, and it was a unanimous recommendation of the committee to adopt this agreement.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item number 8B, we considered a contract with Dr. Stephen Holmes to serve as the General Medical Officer administering to the medical needs of inmates at the Ascension Parish Jail Facility. And after much discussion and debate, it was the recommendation of the committee to adopt this contract.
Motion by Ms. Fontenot. Second. Second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Is there any question? Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item number 8C, we had discussion for the parish president. I don't have that one in front of me here. For the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to apply and implement the Mental Health Assertive Adolescent and Family Treatment Grant Program. And that was the recommendation of the committee to approve that resolution.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert. Second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
On item number 8D, we discussed the renovations to the Courthouse East Council Chambers, and we approved a change order for Brian Bush Construction, and it was our recommendation to approve that.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Motion by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And there was a request, by the way, to get a current data on that, financial data on where we are budget-wise. I haven't received it yet. I would have just asked that the administration provide that information and just share that with us. We're not in a position to discuss it tonight, but we did make that request. Item number 8E was a task order number 4 for the year 2005 for URS, our review agency engineer, to increase their limit to $35,000, and that was the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item number 8F, we had a lengthy discussion about benefits and insurance for parish employees, and it was a unanimous recommendation to approve St. Paul Travelers Insurance as provider for property and casualty insurance for the parish of Ascension. I'm sorry, it's not benefits insurance, it's property and casualty insurance for 2006 for Ascension Parish.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byriger, second by Mr. Shakespeare. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, we had a very encouraging report, financial report from the Lamar Dixon Expo Center, and I'm pleased to introduce tonight, we have some visitors, dignitaries with Lamar Dixon. We have Mr. Glenn E. Mon, who's the Senior Vice President for SMG, Senior Vice President of Stadium Arenas. We also have Mr. Doug Thornton, the Vice President, as well as Mr. Eddie Crawford, the Manager. And I'd just like to ask them to stand up and be recognized, and if anyone had any questions for the members of, we're very pleased to have them here in town. They happen to be in town with us tonight, and I told them, Mr. Valentine, I was going to call on them. I didn't surprise them.
No, I like the fact that we had any questions.
I didn't prepare
Don't
you
put 'em
all,
on-
though.
don't
I
put 'em
didn't,
on the spot.
I didn't put you on the spot. No. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here, and that's our report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. Number 9, Strategic Planning Committee. Mr. Shake Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first order of business we had in a special meeting was were tasked to take a look at a temporary evacuee housing ordinance. After extensive discussion and looking over the ordinance, it was determined that we already had in place at that time a method for the people, and essentially for the people that are not familiar, at the time of the meeting last Monday, the parish had a policy that a person with 1 acre of land could come to the planning department and pull a permit to put a trailer for family members and evacuees there for an 18-month period. And there was a recommendation that this basically go down to a half-acre lot. We determined that we already have a method in place to bring this the amount down on a case-by-case basis with the variance board, and so therefore we did not deem it necessary to put on another ordinance on something that we could already do. So it was a unanimous recommendation of the strategic planning that we vote down the ordinance, and that's what's recommended tonight. And so we did bring it forward, and I would imagine that it's here to vote on now, and it's a recommendation that we deny this ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, actually, it's listed under ordinance, the section in the back.
Mr. Shake Snyder, we will take it up under the appropriate agenda item.
All right, the other thing is that we had, along that line, since we were going to the variance boards, people would be going to the variance board with their individual items, we recommended that we send a resolution to give the variance board some directions, because when the variance board makes a decision, it can be on a permanent basis, and we did not want that to happen. So we have some suggestions that, to the variance boards for directions to give people when they come for variances in order to protect the parish and the people that own the land where the trailers are to be submitted. And that is in your packet, and that would be our suggestions, that we offer a resolution to that effect.
So moved,
That's
Mr. Chairman.
9B.
Got a motion by Mr. Vincent Lambert,
Second.
second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And that is all from the strategic planning. And Mr. President, is the new council chambers, is this going to be ready for the end of the month for meetings?
Fire marshal will inspect it in the morning, and if that passes, we should be ready to go.
Would it be appropriate, we have a meeting on the 27th, and would it be appropriate for us to move our meetings there at that point?
I would definitely think it would be appropriate. In fact, we encourage all the board
announce that,
meetings, committee meetings to be held there going
strategic
forward so
planning.
they can be broadcast to the people.
Strategic planning on the 27th at 6 p.m. will be held at the new courthouse.
All right, that's all you have, Mr. Shake Snyder?
Yes, sir.
Number 10, Recreation Committee. Chairman, Vice Chairman, do we have a report from the Recreation? We'll pass on that. Number 11, Personnel Committee, Mr. Valentine.
No report, Chairman Sabo.
12, Transportation Committee, Chairwoman Fontenot.
Thank you, Councilman Sawant. We had a couple of items. I don't know if Mr. Rue, did you want to address the two items in the transportation? One was A, to widen bridge at 12445 Debate Road in order for the school buses to be able to turn around without going on private lots.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I can comment if you wish. The only thing we're doing is widening. That is a parish road, and it is a parish road bridge, and we're doing a little bit of work to widen it so the parish school bus can get across it with less difficulty.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Jimson Lambert.
Also, that was approved by the Bridge Committee, and this is going to be a joint effort between the school board and the parish.
Exactly right.
We're ready to go.
All right, motion? Yes. Motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passed.
Item B is a subdivision road list recommend to accept into the parish road system. Document list date January 23rd, 2006.
And I think that's listed for the
Mr.
council.
Rue, Mr. Rue,
Yes.
let me try to take this. Gentlemen and Ms. Fondo, we're gonna couple these all together. If there's any one of them that you want to pull aside and discuss, we will do so. I'll go ahead and call out the subdivisions that's being recommended to take roads in. Parks at Dutchtown, second filing. Bayou View Estates, first filing. Oak Alley Estates, second filing. Manshak Harbor subdivision, third filing. And Galvez Gardens subdivision. Is there any one of them that you'd like to pull out and discuss separately? Otherwise, we'll take them all up at one time. All right. Mr. Braille Rue, y'all inspected all these, and these are all ready to be taken into the system.
We recommend the acceptance
All
into
right,
our system.
do I hear a motion?
Motion, Chairman.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Jimson Lambert, second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. All right. Now, Ms. Fontenot, you can take,
Okay, the Pin Oak subdivision, I think there was some question on the road, on the Misty Oak Road. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. We did do a proof roll and did an inspection of it. We had some problems with it and been negotiating and meeting with the developer, gave him some conditions, which is presented here, and he has agreed to do that, but we will not accept it into the system until this is done. And if it gets to the point where the bond is, it gets close to the termination of the bond, we will pull the bond on this before it's done. But he has agreed to do it.
so there's no action needed by the
No.
council at this time?
There's no action needed. We're just going to bring that to your attention.
Okay.
Okay, we also had an update from URS on the road projects, the road improvement projects, 2004 road project phase 1. It's at a meeting was held in Orford Richard Van to discuss some disputed items on this project, so they're working out some problems with that particular part. 2000 road project phase 2, the construction of the project is proceeding smoothly. 2004 road project phase 3, Hope Villa Estates road improvement. This is expected to be completed by April the 22nd, 2006. 2005 road project, the engineer Bert Conpeter has indicated that they will submit final plans and specifications by tomorrow, so that was Wednesday of last week. URS will review these plans and provide comments to Bert Conpeter within a week. The engineer will incorporate the comments so that the bidding can start off by the end of February. The 2006 road project, DPW is reviewing the list of potential projects that could be included in this program. They did give us a list. I'd like, Mr. Rue, if you will, to see to it that all the councilmen get that list
Yes, ma'am.
so that everybody can review it for, do we need it for the next transportation meeting?
Yes,
or do
ma'am.
we need by the next
In fact, if
transportation
it wasn't
meeting?
sent out, I'll check with our road engineer. If it has not been sent out, it will be sent out by tomorrow.
If anybody has any problems with that, you need to contact me before the next meeting. Phase 2 on the 2006 road project, the construction of this project began on January 16, 2006. This is the intersection. This is intersection projects. The one at Duplessis and Louisiana 73, the one at Highway 935, Bayou Northeast, and Louisiana 430, Highway 431. I think there's another one at Swamp Road and Highway 61. So these projects are underway. Phase 3, DPW and the engineer GSA are reviewing the list of potential projects that could be included in this program. Road widening projects. Parker Road construction on this project is complete. Boudreaux Road Phase 2 construction of this project is complete. Boudreaux Road Phase 2, congratulations, Mr. Thompson. The clearing and grubbing project has been bid, and the contractor is DPN Company. Joseph Area Road, the project is in the utility relocation phase. West Worthy Road, the engineer GSA reports that the plans are complete and ready for construction. The project is currently in the right-of-way acquisition phase. Roddy Road, the engineer GSA reports that plans are in the preliminary stage of development. Cannon Road, the engineer GSA reports that the plans are in the preliminary stage of development. This concludes the list. The next transportation meeting undoubtedly will be held at the new courthouse, the second Tuesday of the month, 7 o'clock, following utilities. Everybody's welcome. Thank you.
Can I give just a little addition to that report, Mr. Chair, Madam Chairman? We had a meeting today, DOTD, on Highway 42, and we also discussed Highway 73. These are two of the mega projects that we've been working for years now, and they are going through the Phase 0 of Highway 42 right now. A firm from Lafayette was assigned to the Phase 0 and the design of Highway 42. They're looking at completing the Phase 0, which is the feasibility study, which is required by DOTD, in about 3 or 4 months. Then they're going to be going to design and or environmental, then design. After that, hopefully the first part of the year we'll starting to get into some of the design of that highway. They also have already completed the feasibility study, this Phase 0 of Highway 73, and they're moving into the environmental study of Highway 73 for the construction of 3-laning of that highway. Both of these roads are designed for at least a 3-lane. So they're moving forward with both those projects.
Mr. McConnell?
I just have a question. It's not on that particular project, but on the road project currently is Lake Park subdivision off of 431 in Brittany, and all of the plans were supposed to have been delivered to URS for their review, and they're supposed to be reviewing it so that we can get the ball rolling and hopefully have construction start on or around April 1st. I just want to make certain that, Bill, do you know offhand, and if we have someone here from URS, whether those plans were in fact delivered for Lake Park subdivision? It's a complete overlay and rebuilding of all of the roads in Lake Park subdivision. Would you know where we are on that?
I do not know if it was delivered or not. Right.
It was supposed to have been delivered to you from Burt Kleinpeter on this past Monday, and I was assured that you would look at it within the week and get it back so that we could start the bid process.
We'll have a report sent to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rue. Mr. Dempsey Lamb.
Thank you, Chair. The Highway 42, are we looking from Port Vincent all the way to Airline Highway with the 3-lane? Because there's been several rumors.
Right now, with the money available, the chances of getting all of 42 is real slight, within an $8 to $10 million that's available. We're fairly certain that we can get most, if not all, of Highway 42 from Highway 44 to 61 in pretty good shape, at least most of it done in 3-laning, if we just concentrate on that portion of it. So as of right now, it's very doubtful we're going to be able to do anything past 44, with the exception of some turn lane at some of the major intersections, maybe Roddy Road or something like that, and 933 maybe. Other than that, it's very doubtful that we'll be able to do anything on that portion with this amount of money that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Number 13, Utilities Committee. Mr. Byron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee met this week, and we got a report that the rural water service was able to test the lines in Country Ridge for infiltration problems. They found 162 leaks in a particular system, and that's why we're having so many problems. Every time we get a good rain, the system overflows and starts backing up into people's homes and things. And anyway, 162 leaks, and under 13A, we have a task order contract to ask MWH to start doing their work on this particular system, and we offer that as a motion.
Second.
You got a
Mr. Chairman?
motion?
I'm sorry.
You got a motion by Mr. Byringer, second by Ms. Fontenot, to issue a task order for the Country Ridge Smoke Test Project coming under the Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Act. Mr. Bill Root.
Yes, sir. The administration recommends we defer this to the next utility committee, and I'd like to give a little bit of explanation. The utility and transportation committees meet just 2 days before the council meeting, like just 2 days ago before this meeting. And a lot of times, if we anticipate something coming up at the committee meeting that possibly needs action at the next meeting, we go ahead a week before and put it on the agenda for the council meeting, and that's what was done on here. At the utility meeting, we were unable to really discuss this contract with the utility committee based on several things, one of which being that the full scope of work wasn't defined, and we wanted to redefine some of the scope of work to bring in more design into that grant. The other thing was the fact that Montgomery Watson has been working on a grant through Lake Pontchartrain Commission for about 2 years now, and they're going to bring the results of that work to the utility committee at the next meeting. And the administration would like to see the results of that work before we, and see if it's satisfactory before we give them another task on another grant. So that is the reason that we asked to defer this to the next meeting.
Mr. Byringer.
Okay. Mr. Savoy and members of the council, we've been putting this off for a whole year. We had some funding in the STAG grant, and y'all thought it was more appropriate to take that out and put it in with the Corps plan to go to EPA to redirect the STAG grant. I thought that was pretty important myself. So I agreed to let this funding go. Now we have another opportunity to get something going for these poor people in Country Ridge who every time it rains has toilets backing up in their home. We have a terrible infiltration problem. I had another call this week. I'm going to start giving them everybody else's number and let y'all talk to them, because I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's time to move on. These folks have been dealing with this particular system. I mean, smell something funny here, and it's not poo-poo.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Mr. Rue.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that another company could environmental compliance do the smoke testing?
It's not the smoke test, it's the whole evaluation of the system. Smoke test is just a small portion of it. You have to put cameras in, do a visual. You have to do a survey of it to find out exactly what the smoke and the problems are. Then you have to do an evaluation based on those findings to determine exactly what needs to be done. And then come back, do a design, and then go to construction.
Well, we have had grants and monies that come through, and we utilize Montgomery Watson, and everything has been like at a standstill. But what I'm asking is, I think PEC have environmental compliance, a company that does smoke testing that go in and look at sewer system and determine the problems. And I was just wondering any way we could use these guys to look at this.
This is not our choice completely. The engineer is actually hired by Lake Pontchartrain Commission Restoration. They just take a recommendation from the parish president on who to use. It's totally their choice of who they elect. Again, they take a recommendation to the parish president. It's been a tradition, and it's been recommended that Montgomery Watson take part in this task. However, they've been working on something for 2 years now. We haven't seen the results of that through the same grant, and we just think that we need to look and see if they perform that task properly and to our satisfaction before we go into another task to the same company.
Yeah, but Mr. Barringer still has that problem. You know, we're gonna keep waiting, and what I'm asking is let's just try to move forward with it and get it resolved as quickly as possible. If he's getting phone calls, I don't want to be the one getting calls like he is.
Mr. Mr. McConnell.
Well, my question is, if we defer this action, how long are we deferring it? When do you think we'll be able to get to it? Is there a realistic timeline? This has been a problem since long before I've been on the council. I mean, we have tasked administration to deal with this and to work with our different consulting firms. And I don't care who does this work. I really don't. This is a competent firm. They all are. But I also respect my public works director, and if he's asking for a deferral, I believe he has some reason to do so. I'd like to see this kind of moved on, but if there's some problem that we defer it, and if we're deferring the action for just a short period of time, I don't know, Mr. Rue, how long is this deferral?
It's whenever the next utility committee is held, or they can call a special committee, utility committee meeting to discuss this one subject. Also, I'd like to say that at the committee, they said that whatever the case, they wanted to move forward with this, even if the parish had to put up additional money to make sure it goes straight to design and construction and not wait for another grant to come along another year. So whatever the case is, they indicated that once the decision is made, we put up the additional money to make sure it doesn't have to wait for another funding cycle to get it fixed.
Now, let me try to bring the council up to speed a little bit. Here, back in late 2003 or beginning of 2004, there was Mr. David Vitter worked up and he got support from Congress to start this Lake Pontchartrain Cleanup Act. In so doing, we, Ascension Parish, got a grant, and it was being administered through UNO, through Ms. Susie Kuhn, I think. Teresa Kuhn. All right. And for those that don't remember, this issue became a fiasco back under the previous administration because, as Bill Rue said, the parish president, from what I understand, has the authority to choose that particular firm. Well, back then, the council wanted one, and the parish president went against them, went to New Orleans and picked another one. That's how MWH came to be on this project. Okay? Now, MWH came into the parish. They done their task. And I'm the one that's been following this, trying to keep the ball rolling. And trust me, it's been a very difficult time keeping the ball rolling. Now, the administration is asking for 30 days to find out if they got their deliverables or not. I'm not too comfortable if we want to go there. Okay? Because according to my information that I got, there's been some holdups. Not necessarily through MWH. Okay? From my understanding, the best that I can appreciate it. Now, what's disturbing to me is 1 full year, nothing happened to this project for 2005. Fact. Okay? Now, I turned it over to Mr. Byriger because my plate was overflowing. I said, this is in your district, you're the chairman of the utilities, this is what I got, you need to go with it. Now, he brought it to the table, it's ready to be moved on. There is a problem, there's been a problem at Country Ridge before we even owned it. And it's not going anywhere. We done spent some money on the system, on the treatment system and all that. Now, it can become another fiasco, but the main thing is we get moving on it. Okay? Now, so far, seeing if we got our deliverables and all that, I think you had all of 2005 to find out if you got your deliverables or not. Now, that's aggravating and upsetting to know that we want to postpone it again. You know, this is a project that has to be done, period. It is our system. It is inadequate. And we have a chance to use somebody else's money, you know, from a grant to get this done. So that's the history of this Lake Pontchartrain Cleanup Act and how Ascension Parish is benefiting from it. But we're not keeping the ball rolling to where we can fully benefit, because if we don't spend the money, I mean, that was one thing that held up the smoke testing money, is because of the previous project, which was to analyze New River and getting some data. Okay? So that's where we're at now. Mr. Byrick, you want the floor?
Yes, sir. You said you wouldn't go there, but I think I will, Mr. Chairman. This project is being held up because of politics. It's over another firm. I happen to meet with the firm that's buying for this project right now. Called administration and trying to get this project, and I believe that is the holdup. We're trying to get this project to another engineering firm that hadn't been working on it and not familiar with it. That's the real story right there. It's politics, guys, and we need to move on this project and help the people out in Country Ridge. I ask that y'all please support this project tonight.
Any further questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President?
Bill, and make sure I understand what we're talking about here in our conversation now. Whenever I first took office in January of 2005, Montgomery and Watson come forward, and I think the only time I've ever talked to this firm, they said this is $250,000 that they had gotten at the end of 2003. Is this the same $250,000? Now, have they ever came and made a report to the full council on what they did with that $250,000? I don't remember it being done.
Under the New River Restoration Grant that we received from Lake Pontchartrain, over 2 years ago, is I think $260,000 or so, somewhat. The part of the grant is that they put together what they call stakeholders, a committee of stakeholders, and it's people from Gonzales and from the parish. Our engineer was involved with it. They report to that committee and public
Lake
information.
Pontchartrain Basin Commission.
The engineer
Okay.
reports to those stakeholders and have regular meetings or periodic meetings reporting their performance of what they've been doing, and also hold a public meeting. That public meeting was announced and held several weeks ago. I don't think anybody showed up. One of the prior stakeholder meetings,
nobody showed up?
advertised. I don't think anybody but a few of the stakeholders. Nobody else showed up.
Now, is that
several
the one?
meetings last
Excuse
year.
me. Now, is that the one that was going to be scheduled a few months ago and was canceled? Is that the same thing we're
Yeah, I
talking?
think it could have been. Again, that's been going on.
Well, let's go back to my question, though. Has this firm, in charge of that $260,000, $250,000, whatever it was, and I think it was right before we took office, have they ever came before the council and made a report on what they did with that money?
No, they did not.
And why is that?
Again, their requirement is to report to the stakeholders. They actually work for Lake Pontchartrain Commission, Restoration Commission. They work for them. The contract is between them and Lake Pontchartrain. And that's
Maybe
how
we
it
can
works.
solve this
So-
quickly. We have another council meeting in 2 weeks. Can we get them
Sure.
to come and make a presentation to the council?
He did.
I heard Mr. Savar said I have some influence in who gets this contract. I will call Senator Visitor personally, what he says about this. But I think it is important, just like with URS and others, you guys have always asked, that people come before the council and make a report on what we find, be it a study of public works or study we're doing now, business analysis of planning and development. So to be consistent, and I'm asking these questions because I don't remember this report, and I don't think I've met with just one person 2 years ago with this particular firm. And so I think we need to invite them. If we need to have a special meeting and we invite them to come to that, I'll call it. Or in 2 weeks we have them come and make their presentation on what they've done so all of us understand what has happened with the money, what they've done thus far. Does that sound reasonable, Mr. Chairman, to everybody? I've never seen a report from this firm on how the $263,000 has been spent. So I'm a little concerned about spending another $150-something without knowing what was happening with the 263 or whatever that amount is. So
The final report has just been received, I think, in the last month or so. This month.
this month,
Within a month or so.
would you ask that firm to come present that report to the council?
Yes, sir.
And, regardless of what you guys vote on tonight, I think that needs to be done. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Mr. Todd Lambert?
Yeah, Bill, I guess about 2 months back, we had a meeting with the New River with this project. And I was at that meeting.
Well, that was the stakeholders meeting, or, right. Now, I
It
wasn't.
was held right here.
Right. I know they had several meetings, had stakeholders that was
And they had a
involved
big
with it.
presentation.
And they had a presentation to the stakeholders.
Yes, sir.
Right. And that is their requirement. So they have met that requirement.
Thank you, Bill.
how many members of the council then saw that presentation?
Several was invited. I was the only one here at the time.
I was invited.
I think, yeah.
I was invited. I couldn't go.
I didn't see it.
Any further discussion? There's a motion by Mr. Byregger, second by Ms. Fontenot, to award a task order. Is there any opposition?
Yeah, I object based on the administration's recommendation.
Got one objection, Mr. Hillenbeck. Motion passes. Number 14.
Mr. Chairman, I finished.
I'm sorry, Mr. Byron.
Yeah. The Corps came to the utilities meeting and gave a small presentation. They present the EID to the EPA. They got preliminary approval. They're waiting on comments. I think they'll have final approval by March. And that's on our STAG grant. Remember, we redirected our money, gave it to the Corps. They had a plan, presented to the EPA. Next, the comprehensive wastewater plant design will be, they think will be ready in 2 or 3 months. And then that the Corps has been overseeing. By then, they think they'll be ready. Well, at the end of the year, they think they'll be ready to start design on the collection lines and also start construction on the plant itself for the comprehensive wastewater system. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Byron. Number 14, cooperative endeavor agreement / lease agreement between Ascension Parish Economic Development Corporation and Ascension Parish Tourist Commission, a.k.a. Southeast Louisiana Convention and Visitors Bureau, for the purpose of leasing space in the Tourist Information Center located in Sorrento, Louisiana. Mr. Babbitt.
Very simply, it's a lease to rent 2 offices in the upper floor of the Tourist Center building on Highway 22 near Interstate 10. I believe Robert Family Partnership has agreed to it, but they wanted us to approve it before they gave us the written notification. So all we're asking to do is that the Ascension Economic Development Corporation approve this lease with the Parish of Ascension, the owner of the property, to lease the upper 2 offices of this facility.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Byregger, second by Mr. McConnell.
It wasn't by me,
I'm sorry. Mr. Todd Lambert.
because I was just going to have a discussion.
Any discussion?
Me,
Mr. McConnell.
not to throw a monkey wrench in anything, but we discussed this briefly at the Finance Committee last Thursday night. There was no lease here before us to be discussed, so this was the action that was deferred to the Executive Committee, and we did call an Executive Committee meeting for this afternoon to look and discuss this lease, and we didn't have anything to discuss, so we just kind of looked at one another for a while and then went on our happy way. So I know you were looking for a recommendation from the Executive Committee, and I'm here to tell you there is none. But if all of the parties are pleased with the lease, I certainly have no objection. Just to let you know that the Executive Committee did not have an opportunity to discuss it. Could we kind of go through it a little bit?
As a matter of fact, what we're going to do is we're going to ask Mr. Ricky Babin to read it to us.
Since he's so helpful.
Mr. McConnell, we apologize for not getting it to you earlier, but we got the final conditions and terms of the lease yesterday. We had no price to plug into it, so I couldn't give you a lease without a price.
It was not meant as a criticism, Mr. Babin.
It says premises, lessor is the owner of a parcel of tract of land located in the Parish of Ascension, more particularly described the Ascension Parish Church Commission Office, which is located at 6967 Highway 22, Sorrento, Louisiana, 70778. The premises are being leased, described as 2 offices on the second floor of the Ascension Parish Church Commission, which measure approximately 600 total square feet. The term of the lease shall be from March 1st, 2006 through December 31st, 2006. Lessee agrees to pay lessor the amount of $525 per month for the leased premises, which is due on the first of the month, plus 1/2 of the monthly utility bill. The premises will be used for any lawful activity in connection with the day-to-day operations of the Ascension Economic Development Corporation. Lessor shall have servitude or access to and from the building, which we needed to put in there so they can get their cars in and get in and out. The lessee shall operate without any interference to the Tourist Commission or their activities. There's an insurance requirement, $1 million single limit. Maintenance, the lessee shall keep the premises neat and orderly, remove trash, avoid noxious activities or conduct, and the condition of the premises upon termination of the property is to be returned in the same condition that they received it. A very simple document.
Any questions for Mr. Babbitt?
All of the parties, the Ascension Economic Development Corporation, the Ascension Parish Tourist Commission, and the Robert Family Partnership are all fine with this lease.
My understanding from talking to
I see three
parties-
different heads nodding in the audience, and that pretty much does it for me.
Yes.
You got me too.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Babbitt.
Yes, sir.
Nice reading, Mr. Babbitt.
Number 15, Ascension Parish Tourist Commission, a.k.a. Southeast Louisiana Convention and Visitors Bureau. Dr. J.
Bernicio.
Benicio.
Come on down.
Dr. J.
Thank you all. Good evening. Appreciate y'all having us here to talk about this. First off, I want to officially welcome the Economic Development Group and thank the Roberts for their cooperation and assistance in putting the whole thing together. We're looking forward to working with them and, in the spirit of economic development, tourism, and for business. I guess y'all want me to tell you why we're changing our name back to Ascension Tourism Commission. As you know, our function is to promote the attractions, the attractions in Ascension Parish, to have people come here, visit here, shop, eat, dine, stay in the hotels and our bed and breakfasts, and thereby generating sales taxes. We've had a pretty good year. We're back on track. We've got a beautiful building, and now we have some neighbors to share with. At the advice, when we were originally the Ascension Tourism Commission, at the advice of our previous executive director, she thought since Ascension Parish was on the move and it was growing so rapidly, she wanted to align ourselves in the spirit of other convention and visitors bureaus that were building convention centers and other larger attractions, put us more in line with what was going on nationally. Post-Katrina, and we were happy with that for a little while, but we were getting a lot of negative feedback because nobody knew exactly where Southeast Louisiana was. It could have been anywhere from the Mississippi line to Baton Rouge. The other tourism commissions kind of voiced their opinions, and we agreed with them that we are Ascension Parish. Our function was to promote Ascension Parish, and the board felt that we were getting a little bit away from that, getting a little off track. SELVVCA, too many initials, too many names, and it was a bit nebulous. Our function is to promote Ascension Parish, and we do that really well. So we decided we wanted to go back to Ascension Parish Tourism Commission. We apologize for not coming to you earlier. The board voted on it recently, and that's about where we stand now. Ascension Parish Tourism, a.k.a. Southeast Louisiana Convention and Visitors Bureau, does not fit on our letterhead. We want to shrink it down a little bit. So if nobody has any objections, or if I'll answer any questions that y'all might have.
Is there any questions for Mr. Dr. J? All right. Now. Motion
I'll
by-
second it.
Motion by Mr. Hillenbeck.
Because I think Mr. Hillenbeck and I made the original motion to change the name in the first place, and you're right. No, we confess now.
We agree deadline, and we agree
We're confessing our sins.
Any further discussion?
I didn't understand it at the time, but I understand now.
Well, just because we can do a thing does not necessarily mean we should have done a thing. We're glad
I think it's a good move.
No opposition, motion passed. Number 16, authorization to retain law firm of Jones Walker for recently filed lawsuit against Ascension Parish. Legal, Mr. Babbitt.
There was a statement made in the parish president's report to contact me about that litigation. That is incorrect. Contact with Jones Walker. They are handling this litigation for the parish of Ascension and the planning commission. Under Louisiana state law, if you're going to retain special counsel, it requires a motion by you. We have to send it to the Attorney General to approve the rate schedule. So we're asking you to do that tonight.
Got a motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. All right, number 17, we have an introduction to an ordinance. To consider an ordinance amending Ascension Parish subdivision regulation ordinance section 31.108.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. McConnell.
In discussing this, asking questions among some of my colleagues here on the council, I found out that I wasn't the only one who didn't know what I was going to be voting on tonight, and I would like to offer instead a motion to refer this to the Strategic Planning Committee to discuss it, to let us know just what it is we're talking about.
I second it.
Got a motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Ms. Fontenot, to send this issue to the Strategic Planning Committee. Question, Mr. Dempsey Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make sure that they invite Board of Contractors, so they could all get some input on this.
All right.
We still have a Board of Contractors. Please let them be involved.
Any further discussion? Having none, is there any opposition to the motion? Having none, motion passes.
Mr. Zahn, can you make sure Ms. June puts it on the agenda? Can you make sure Ms. June puts it on the agenda?
Forward that to Ms. June, please. Number 18, introduction of an ordinance, to consider an ordinance authorizing the Ascension Economic Development Corporation to lease a portion of the Ascension Parish Tourist Commission building located on Highway 22 in Sorrento, Louisiana, for office space. Mr. Babbitt.
I move to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McConnell,
You're welcome.
second by Mr. Byron. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. All right, number 19, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the Central Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential to crossroads commercial, property located on the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 44 and Germany Road for Alvin Miller, Ronnie Miller, and Cody Miller. Legal, Mr. Babbitt.
The ordinance reads, purpose to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from medium intensity residential oriented to crossroad commercial, CC. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has an effective comprehensive plan of zoning, and pursuant to that plan, the parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow for the rezoning of property to a different classification. Whereas herein below described property is found as such that rezoning the property is in conformity with adjacent land uses, conformity with the general land use plan for the parish, it's not injurious to adjacent properties, and fully meets qualifications for rezoning set forth in Louisiana law, that the following described property be rezoned from medium intensity residential oriented to crossroad commercial. Zoning ID 1407.05 for Alvin Miller, Ronnie Miller, Cody Miller, located on the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 44 and Germany Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity oriented to crossroad commercial, CC. Property description more fully described as attached hereto, made a part hereof. Be it further ordained that the land use map of the Ascension Parish Development Code be amended to reflect these rezonings, and the Office of Planning and Zoning be authorized to make such changes.
Motion to open public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, open public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion closed. Second.
Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck, second by Mr. Byrigger, to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 20, the ordinance.
Move the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. George Valentine. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 21, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation to medium intensity residential for property located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 429, better known as Corner View, approximately 2,300 feet east of Louisiana Highway 73, for Rick Meter. Mr. Babbitt.
It reads, purpose to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from conservation, C, to medium intensity residential, ORM, Whereas the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning, and pursuant to that plan, a parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority and became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow the rezoning of property to a different classification. Whereas the herein described property is located as such that rezoning the property is in conformity with adjacent land use, conformity with the general land use plan of the parish, not injurious to adjacent properties, and fully meets the qualifications for rezoning set forth under Louisiana law. Be it ordained that the following described property be rezoned from conservation C to medium intensity residential, zoning ID 1404.05 for Rick Meadow, located on the south side of Louisiana Highway 429, Cornerview Road, approximately 2,300 feet east of Louisiana Highway 73. To amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation C to medium intensity residential RM, being more particularly described as attached hereto, description made a part hereof. Be it further ordained that the land use map of the Ascension Parish Development Code be amended to reflect these rezonings, that the Office of Planning and Development, Planning and Zoning be authorized to make such changes.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byringer, second by Mr. Ty Lambert, to open the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion to close. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ty Lambert, second by Ms. Fontenot, to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 22, the ordinance.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byringer, second by Mr. Shakespeare to approve the ordinance. Is there any opposition to it? No. Having none, motion passes. Number 23, public hearing. To consider an ordinance amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from rural to crossroads commercial for property located at intersection of Louisiana Highway 935, better known as Stringer Bridge Road, and Highway 22 for Ralph C. Mendoza. Mr. Babbitt.
To amend the Ascension Parish zoning map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from rural or to crossroad commercial CC, that the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning, and pursuant to that plan, a parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow the rezoning of property to a different classification. Whereas in the herein described property is located as such that rezoning the property is in conformity with adjacent land uses, conformity with the general land use plan of the parish, not injurious to adjacent property, and fully meets the qualifications for rezoning set forth under Louisiana law. Be it ordained that the following described property be rezoned from rural or to crossroad commercial, CC, zoning ID 1386.05, Ralph C. Mendoza, located at the intersection of Louisiana Highway 935, Stringer Bridge Road, and Louisiana Highway 22, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from rural or to crossroad commercial, being more particularly described as set forth in the legal description attached hereto, made a part hereof. Be it further ordained that the land use map for the Ascension Parish Development Code be amended to reflect these rezonings, and that the Office of Planning and Zoning be authorized to make such changes.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byringer, second by Mr. Valentine, to open public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion by Mr. Byringer, second by Mr. Hillensbeck, to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 24, the ordinance itself. Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Byringer. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 25, public hearing to consider an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of immovable properties from R. Russell McMahon for the purpose of constructing road improvements on Boudreaux Road for the purchase price of $16,000 as part of the Ascension Parish Road Widening Project. Mr. Babbitt.
I've just been advised by Mr. Tom Dawson of URS that the acquisition price was not $16,000, it was $18,000. Is that correct? Okay. Typographical error. So I would ask you if you consider this motion to amend it to reflect the correct purchase price of $18,000.
Move to amend the ordinance.
I think you got to read it.
You gotta read it first.
Read it.
I'm going to read it first and ask you to amend it and then adopt it or act on it as amended. To acquire movable property, non improvements thereon from R. Russell McMahon for the purpose of constructing improvements on Bluebell Road for the purchase price of, should read, $18,000 as part of the Ascension Parish Road Widening Program. Be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Council authorizes the purchase of the following property and all improvements thereon, which property is situated in the parish of Ascension, state of Louisiana, for the purchase price and consideration of $18,000. Parcel 12 OR. The description is attached and made a part of the ordinance. This ordinance is adopted in conformity with Section 6.01 of the Ascension Parish Charter. The purchase of property is subject to approval by the parish attorney, contingent upon the seller being able to deliver good and merchantable title. Ronnie Hughes, Parish President, is authorized to sign all necessary documents on behalf of the parish.
Is there amendment, is there a motion to amend?
Open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
We can make the amendment.
Motion by Mr. Byrig, second by Mr. McConnell, open the public hearing. Is there any opposition?
Move to close, Mr. Chairman.
Hold up, Mr. Byrig. No opposition, motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Move to close, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byrig, second by Ms. Fontenot to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. The ordinance itself.
I move the ordinance with the amendment that it be 18,000 instead of 16,000.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Byrig. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 27, public hearing to consider an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of immovable properties from, I need some help on that pronunciation. Tuscany Apartments LLC for the purpose of constructing road improvements on Boudreaux Road, Roth Road for the purchase price of $54,350 as part of the Ascension Parish Road Widening Project. Mr. Thomas, is that the right figure? Okay.
To acquire immovable property and all improvements thereon from Tuscany Apartments LLC, a Louisiana Limited Liability Company, for the purpose of constructing road improvements on Boudreaux, Roth Road for the purchase price of $54,350 as part of the Ascension Parish Road Widening Program. Be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Council authorizes the purchase of the following property and all improvement thereon. The property is situated in the parish of Ascension, state of Louisiana, for the purchase price and consideration of $54,350. Parcels 13, 13A, 13B, 13C, and 13D. Specific description of those properties are attached to the ordinance and made a part thereof. This ordinance is being adopted in conformity with Section 601 of the Ascension Parish Charter. The purchase of property is subject to approval by the parish attorney and contingent upon the seller being able to deliver good and merchantable title. Ronnie Hughes, Parish President, authorized to sign all documents necessary on behalf of the parish of Ascension.
Motion to open public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Hillenbeck to open the public hearing. Is there any opposition?
Motion to close.
Having none, motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion to close.
Motion by Mr. Hillenbeck to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 28, the ordinance. Motion by Mr. Hillenbeck.
I got a question.
Got a motion by Mr. Hillenbeck. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Fontenot. Discussion, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, was this the original purchase price of this right-of-way? This Tuscany apartment?
That's a correct amount.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a large tract. It runs all the way around.
Yeah, I realize that, but
It's commercial property and it's expensive.
It's also developed property.
I understand that, Mr. Hillenbeck, but it was talked about before doing the construction of these apartments where it wasn't that much.
Whatever we gotta do.
Mr. Thompson, are you looking for an explanation on the increase? Is there an explanation? Mr. Garrett.
Appraised, and it's commercial property. They put together a group of various little properties, and it's a commercial property, and it's probably worth much more than this, actually. I wouldn't want to go get a second appraisal now. I don't think we should done it. Just as a
Estimate.
we had it appraised, we had it updated. It was a negotiated settlement.
Any further questions? Any opposition to the motion? Having none, motion passes. Number 29, public hearing, to consider an ordinance amending the personnel policy manual of the Ascension Parish government to Section 5, working conditions, Section R, travel expense, maximum reimbursement to increase to $75 per diem for travel. Mr. Babbitt.
To amend the personnel policy manual of Ascension Parish government, whereas the Ascension Parish Council moves to replace the last paragraph of Section 5, working conditions, Section R, travel expense reimbursement of the personnel manual of Ascension Parish government, which lists the maximum reimbursement amount for meals, including tips, as supported by receipts: breakfast 15, lunch 20, dinner 40, per diem 75. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council moves to replace the last paragraph of Section 5, working conditions, Section R, travel expense reimbursement for the amount of meals, including tips, as supported by receipt, to read as follows: per diem for meals $75. Be it ordained, the Ascension Parish Council is the governing authority in and for the parish of Ascension, does hereby authorize the above amendment to the personnel manual of the Ascension Parish government.
Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byricker, second by Mr. Ty Lambert, to open the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byricker, second by Mr. Jensen Lambert, to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 30, the ordinance itself.
I move the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Shea Snyder, to approve the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? One objection, Mr. Hillenbeck. Motion passes. Number 31, public hearing, to consider an ordinance creating a temporary emergency district for placement of FEMA trailers for use by bona fide displaced evacuees of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. Mr. Babbitt.
An emergency ordinance of the Parish of Ascension creating a temporary emergency district for placement of Federal Emergency Management Agency trailers for use for bona fide displaced evacuees of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, provided for conditions to be met prior to the issuance of a permit for placement of said trailers, providing for the establishment of a time limit for said trailers, providing removal of such trailers at the expense of property owners, providing for a written agreement for said permit, providing for revocation of permit due to endangerment of public health, safety, and welfare of the Parish of Ascension, providing requirements for lot sizes, number of trailers per lot, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has within its limits citizens who are now housing bona fide victims of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, which have been displaced by the catastrophic destruction of their homes by the Hurricane Katrina and Rita. And whereas the Parish of Ascension has strict zoning regulations concerning the placement of travel trailers and/or mobile homes within its community that do not allow mobile homes or travel trailers to be located in certain districts due to policies that have been developed to provide orderly, aesthetically pleasant, quaint communities. Whereas the Parish of Ascension, in recognition of its humanitarian obligation to help the citizens and its families and friends in the greatest time of need, desires to create a temporary emergency district within the Parish of Ascension, which can help alleviate the burden that has been placed on the citizens for their effort to extend their humanitarian sympathy for their relatives and friends which have been displaced by the hurricanes mentioned above. Therefore, be it ordained that here is created the Parish of Ascension a temporary zoning district which shall be known as a temporary emergency district, TED, which shall include the entire limits of the parish, except those included within the corporate limits of Donaldsonville, Gonzales, and Sorrento. Section 2, Federal Emergency Management Agency trailers may be allowed to be permitted in the TED under the following conditions. A TED permit for a FEMA trailer only may be granted by a permit division to the following persons: an applicant, which is defined as a citizen of the Parish of Ascension that actually resides on property where a FEMA trailer is sought to be placed and resides on a parcel of property that at least 1/2 acre in size. The TED permit can only be granted for an applicant to place one and only one FEMA trailer on their property for use and benefit of the applicant's designee. The designee must be a bona fide hurricane victim and has been displaced by Hurricane Katrina or Rita. The applicant may be granted a permit for 18 months only, and the use of the applicant's property must be rent-free. If the bona fide victim finds a substitute housing, the permit shall be canceled and shall be null and void and is non-transferable. The applicant must remove at the end of the permit term the FEMA trailer at the applicant's expense. The applicant shall grant to the parish permission in writing to enter the property and remove the FEMA trailer. If the applicant fails to remove the trailer at the end of the permit term, the applicant and tenant shall agree to hold the parish harmless from any damage to the applicant's property and to the tenant's personal property if the FEMA trailer is to be removed by the parish. The applicant shall also be liable for the parish for all costs of removal of the trailer and the contents. All sewer, gas, electrical cables shall be removed when the FEMA trailer is removed. The applicant and the displaced bona fide victim shall enter into a written agreement to abide by the conditions of the temporary emergency district and agree to remove the trailer and the tenants at the end of the term or earlier if a bona fide victim finds substitute housing. The written agreement shall further provide that the applicant may terminate the permit provided such termination is not in conflict with the written agreements which the applicant has entered with the bona fide victim and/or FEMA. No applicant shall be granted a TED permit for commercial use. The TED permit shall be revoked if at any time the public health, safety, welfare is threatened by either the trailer or the occupants of the parish. If the applicant and tenant fail to remove the FEMA trailer, the parish shall have to remove the trailer. It shall be done at the expense of the applicant. All FEMA trailers permitted by the parish shall be properly hooked to electrical, gas, and sewer connections in the parish. Any applicant wishing to apply for a permit shall file out a form in writing in the parish permit office and shall comply with the procedure set forth by the parish permit office. This ordinance shall not supersede or override any duly subdivision restrictions of record at the time this ordinance becomes effective. Any person desiring a FEMA trailer in a subdivision with subdivision restrictions shall, in addition to the procedure set forth, follow any subdivision restrictions applicable to said subdivision prior to the issuance of any TED permit. This ordinance shall not apply to any properly permitted mobile home parks which should be governed by the ordinance specifically designated for that purpose.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Bowery to open the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fino. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bowery, second by Mr. Shakes, now to close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 32, the ordinance itself. There's no motion, it dies for lack of action. Number 33, public hearing. To consider an ordinance creating an advisory board to address the needs of the community regarding the issues of government access to television and the parish's management of the public access channel provided by the parish's cable television franchise. Mr. Babbitt.
To create an advisory board to address the needs of the community regarding the issues of government access television and the parish's management of the public access channel provided by the parish's cable television franchise. Be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority in lawful session as follows. The Ascension Parish Council is the governing authority for the parish of Ascension, a political subdivision of the state of Louisiana, and pursuant to its police powers founded under the Ascension Parish Home Rule Charter, the laws of the state of Louisiana, and the Constitution for the state of Louisiana, finds the need to create an advisory board for the important issues of managing the government access channel. This body deems it good public policy to create an advisory board that can concentrate on the needs of community and development of programs. This board can focus on bringing about improved programming and the effective use of a valuable public resource of the government access channel. Section 1, creation of the board. The Ascension Parish Community Television Advisory Board. The board is hereby created by the Ascension Parish Council pursuant to the powers granted by Section 4-12E of the Ascension Parish Charter. The board shall be called the Ascension Parish Community Television Advisory Board and shall be created as follows. The board shall be composed of 9 members, which are over the age of majority and shall be residents of the parish of Ascension. The board member shall undergo a selection process as any other board member and shall be appointed by the council. The board members shall be initially appointed in staggered 1-, 2-, and 3-year terms. 3 of the original board members shall be appointed for a 1-year, 3 appointed for a 2-year, and 3 appointed for a 3-year term. Thereafter, once the original terms expire, each board member successively appointed shall serve 3-year terms. Should any board member resign, be removed, or unable to serve for any reason, including but not limited to death, physical or mental incapacity, a successor will be appointed to fulfill the unexpired term. Upon the expiration of the board member's term, the board member shall have no preference in reappointment and must reapply and be selected by the council through its selection process. The board member shall serve without compensation. The board shall meet at least monthly, but they may meet more frequently at their own discretion as needed to fulfill their functions. The board shall elect from its members a chairperson who shall serve in capacity for 1 year. This chairperson shall be responsible for maintaining order and decorum of the meetings, ensuring the public notice of all meetings, and ensure accurate minutes are kept. The official place of business for the board shall be located. I need you to designate that spot. The board is hereby granted the following powers and duties: to assess the needs of the community as it relates to government programming, including regular and special meeting coverage of the public entities, committees, subcommittees, or public entities, or other official meetings and business of the various public entities within the parish of Ascension. to assess the needs of the community-based programming and special interest programming for particular interests of the citizens. This includes festivals, community functions, sporting and cultural events, programs of historical significance, and personal interest information. To access the needs of the community and recommend informational programming explaining the functions and procedures of government, program, and benefits valuable to the citizens, and information of how to contact the proper entity to seek governmental services, permits, or similar functions. To recommend budgeting needs for the government access channel coverage and programming. Nothing herein shall grant or be viewed as authority to grant or to spend public money without obtaining parish council approval. To adopt recommendations for content standards of programming shown on the parish's government access channel. This will include general nature and subject of the programming and the specific content of the material submitted. To formulate recommendations for the criteria of underwriting and sponsoring programming of the government access channel, including prices and method of such underwriting and sponsorship. To evaluate and recommend technology needs of the parish, including filming, editing, producing, and broadcasting information on the government access channel. To recommend personnel requirements for management and working and providing programming on the government access channel. To adopt bylaws for managing the business of this board. To recommend the setting of all fees for use of government access channel, and to recommend programs to coordinate with the Ascension Parish School Board to involve students interested in pursuing journalism or media as a career. Section 3, conduct of meeting. This board shall meet at least monthly at a location designated within the parish of Ascension. A majority of the board of 5 members shall constitute a quorum, and the board may conduct business with a quorum present. The board may pass any action by a majority of the quorum voting favorably on such action. Minutes, records. This board shall comply with Louisiana Open Meetings Law and shall provide notice of all meetings in compliance with that law. The board shall keep written minutes and shall keep and safeguard all records as public records. All records are subject to public records request, except for the privileged items or other items accepted by Louisiana's public record laws. The Ascension Parish Official Journal shall also serve as the official journal for this board. Removal of members. In addition to those causes outlined in state law, if any board member misses 3 consecutive board meetings or a total of 5 meetings in 1 year, then that member will be deemed to have voluntarily resigned his position. That member may apply to be reappointed, but the resignation shall operate without any further action by the parish president or the Ascension Parish Council. Parish support, Section 5. The parish shall supply the board a place to meet and such administrative support as is reasonable to fulfill its function, including secretarial help for record keeping, minute preparation, report preparation, agenda preparation, or other clerical duties. The parish shall supply the board with reasonable computer access for word processing and document preparation, and reasonable office supplies and storage. This ordinance having submitted to a vote.
Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byring to open the public hearing.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this public hearing, please sign in with Suzanne. I have one, Ms. Kathleen Goffel.
Good evening. I'm here to speak in support of the formation of an advisory board for Channel 21, the Government Access Channel. Access to government is necessary for accountability of elected officials. Without a board of citizens to regulate and direct what is aired, the present administration will continue to control what the people see and hear. This has been the case for almost a year since the contract with APTV was ended. Citizens continually ask what happened to consistent local programming on Channel 21. Recent events related to the creation of a FEMA trailer park in Ascension Parish make the necessity of this board vital. The special emergency meeting of February 1st, called by President Hughes at the Geismar Community Center, is a prime example. A November 7, 2005 letter of no objection from President Hughes gave FEMA the go-ahead to place trailers at 15 locations in Ascension, including next to Chase Court Subdivision. This action was made disregarding the September 15th resolution of this parish council, which opposed the establishment of a FEMA trailer parks in Ascension Parish. The emergency meeting began at 6 a.m. and lasted for nearly 4 hours. 4 of the 11 council members seated in this room attended. Hundreds of concerned citizens attended the meeting to voice their outrage. This public hearing was filmed using our tax dollars by the Parish Technology Department. Why, after 2 weeks, has this meeting not been shown on our government channel? The newspapers, radio, and major television stations are all covering this issue. At least 3 people have requested a DVD of this meeting. To date, no one has received a copy. Citizens unable to attend should have access to what happened at this community meeting. President Hughes informed at least one council member that he had viewed the tape of this meeting. Why has the community not been allowed to view this event? This is control of the airways. The case for a board made up of citizens is overwhelming. Citizens cannot tolerate the fox guarding the henhouse. This station, by its creation, was meant to be an educational and informational tool for the citizens to have access not only to the government, but to the community as a whole. It was never meant to be a platform for elected officials to selectively choose and manipulate what the people see and hear.
Yeah, 15 seconds, Scott.
Access brings accountability. The people expect it, and duty demands it. I encourage you to establish this board and reestablish this community service with citizens who will restore a local government channel that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Anyone else on it, Mr. Susan?
Motion to close the public hearing, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Mr. Byregger to close the public hearing. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 34, the ordinance itself.
Move the ordinance, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Mr. Byregger.
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Question?
Mr. Chairman, we've had some concerns on the number of members and the ability to fill all of the positions of 9 members, and therefore it's been suggested by a couple of council members that we may reduce that number to 7 so that we can make sure that we have quorums meeting. I have no opposition one way or another. I think the main thing is to allow them to meet. I think 7 would be quite enough, that we get this board up and running as quickly as possible. And I would be very comfortable with 7, and I offer that as a possible amendment if the council so desires.
I'll second.
Not to throw a monkey wrench in the process,
Yeah.
but if you do that, you're going to have to change the staggered term provision under here, because we had 3, 3, and 3. So you have to change that section also. The ordinance will not make any sense.
And so we would have to make that 2, 2, and 3?
Do it however you wish. All we did was staggered terms, so
In-
everybody appointed doesn't
in that-
expire at the
in-
same time. There's some continuity in membership.
As I said in that amendment, I also want to add the staggered terms to be 2, 2, and 3 on that, with reduction in number of members.
Got that, Ms. Susan?
Chairman Savoy.
Hold on. We got a motion to amend the ordinance by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Mr. Byregger, to change it from 5 to 7, with staggered terms
No,
of 2, 2,
change from 9 to 7.
9 to 7, and going from 2, 2, 3. All right, question.
2 members 1 year, 2 members 2 years, 3 members 3 years. After their initial terms expired, it's all 3. Is that what you?
Yes.
Okay.
Discussion, Mr. Hillenbeck.
Councilman Shakespeare, you know, with a board of 9, you only have to have 5 for a quorum to have a meeting. So that's just over that.
You'd have 4.
No, well,
That's why I
so it's not like you gotta have all 9 there, you can have 5. President, you still have a valid meeting.
make Chairman Savoy. You finished? Chairman Savoy.
Mr. Valentine.
You finished, Mr. Hill? Mr. Valentine.
Yeah, I was one of the councilmen that kind of talked to Councilman Shakespeare about this. One of the problems as personnel chairman that we are finding that we are having less and less volunteers that step forward and naturally volunteer their services, and this is what it is. There is one other place, Ricky, I think that would need to be changed, and I'm going to support Mr. Shakespeare's amendment, and that would be the fact that it states that it would take 5 for a quorum, and what Mr. Hillenbeck is bringing up, it would need 4 for a quorum.
So we're gonna also-
that's the other section that would need to be changed.
We're going to
And that-
amend
and that's,
section 3.
Yes, that'd be section 1A, would be moved to 7. Section C would be the 223, which you talked about.
Section 3A will go from the word 5, will go to 4.
Right.
Is that all this, Mr.
And I think, I looked at it, I think that's all that we need to establish the amendment that Councilman Shakespeare is suggesting.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to point out the following concerns that the executive branch has in this ordinance, and have been pointed out to you throughout the discussion. First of all, on page 3, I guess it's actually page 2 after the cover sheet, under the powers of the board, need to make sure we understand what you're trying to do here, because obviously the government is the people. And the people are the government. If you understand the founding fathers in our Constitution, that though just because we're elected officials doesn't mean we're not citizens anymore. We are a citizen government. And so even though there's a few people in the community who keep trying to make this issue individual rights issue, has nothing to do with that at all. And I deeply respect the founding fathers and what they did. Deeply respect the right for the people to know. Also, though, respect that we want this to not be edited or put a group of citizens in a position where they have to choose between programming. And some of you went and visited with an attorney, I think, I asked you to visit with, who vividly pointed out when you go from a government access channel to a public access channel, you have some standards that you have to consider that are vastly different. Okay? And so if you want to create an advisory board for the purpose of looking at public programming, your parish president will not stand in your way. However, if you're going to including regular and special meeting coverage of public entities, there's no way that an advisory board, that should be taped just like it is, and I can't wait for that tape. The raw footage, they have some problems with the computers. I looked at the raw footage, over 8 hours of that stuff, and they got to put it in the disc. The computer's broke. Mr. Osmond's been working on weekends. It's a shame that people in the community would criticize hard-working public servants who spend all these hours on a weekend and all, not understanding the facts, who just run their mouth. But I respect deeply, and I would sacrifice my own life for that right in America, for people to speak with dissent, because it's what it's all about. Even though I definitely disagree with much of what has been said. Now, and so the executive branch will definitely not support this ordinance if you're talking about censoring meetings, because I can't wait for that meeting of February 1st to be shown throughout the community. I think it will show the true colors of some people, be very obvious. And so we were told this morning that they're just about finished going through all the raw footage and trying to put it on DVDs. And anybody who has $5 can go and purchase those DVDs, but you can save your money because it'll be put on the internet, parish website, as well as on Channel 21. And so we have obvious concerns there when we're talking about regular and special meeting coverage of public entities. If you're talking about council meetings, well, obviously you want that to be shown as Councilwoman Fontenot sent me an email recently, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I agree with it. That's the way it is. Now, and so I have a definite concern there. I've expressed it to you before. And under D, I remind you that the executive branch of government, according to our charter, presents the budget to the governing authority 75 days prior to the end of our fiscal year. So in no way should an advisory board have anything to do with budgeting, because of being against the spirit and the intent of the charter. It's very plain that the executive branch, the parish president, submits a budget to the governing authority 75 days prior to the end of the fiscal year. And so you could get into a lot of issues there with the budgeting process and the law of the charter. Now, on the E, to adopt recommendations for content standards of programming shown on the parish's government access channel. I think you have to be very careful there with censorship. Now, if you're talking about a public access channel, that's different. If you truly mean what you say here, government access channel, well, I would be opposed to that as well, because I think it should be shown just as it takes place. And we don't want a citizens advisory group that may have biases one way or the other, and we all have them. We're all human. We all have human weakness. But the people have a right to see it as it takes place. And so I have very strong concerns about content standards, because the content of this meeting is this meeting, be it as it may. There's no need to evaluate that content or set a standard. Once it goes into the official record and the public record of the parish, it is what it is. Under G, to evaluate and recommend technology needs of the parish regarding filming, editing, producing, and broadcasting information on the government access channel. We're paying people now to do that. It's included in the budget, what they need to run the office. We put quite a bit of money in the budget for this year to get this office up and going and having the equipment they need to do a very professional and a very good job. And I want to commend Mr. Osborne and his office for what they have done under some very difficult circumstances in this process. But they have made significant progress, and in no way has the executive branch tried to keep information from the public. The entire council and the executive branch have been working on this together to improve the quality of the programming. Nothing about the content of the program. I repeat, it is what it is. Now, H, to recommend personnel requirements. I remind you, again in the charter, that the parish president and the office of the executive branch is the one who hires people or who terminates people. That's in our charter as well. And so, not only are we stepping on the charter that the people voted for many years ago, we're also trying to diminish the office of the executive branch. Now, those are the concerns that we have, my administration has. We'll be happy to work with you as far as the public access part of this, but in no way should we, on the government access try to censor the content or programming of what goes on. And so, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for those comments, opportunity to discuss it.
All right. Ms. Fontaine.
Well, I wasn't a party to drafting this, but I was a party to most of the meetings concerning this. And from what I understood, the recommendations for content standing of programming has nothing to do with our council meetings that are produced live and produced by our department. It has to do with the types of programs that they would be recommending, whether we're going to do some local cooking shows or whether we're going to do some sewing classes, quilting bees or whatever, interests of the community. So it really has nothing with it has to do with the content of what we want shown on our airways as far as programming, not government programming, but the community programming. Am I not correct, Mr. Shakespeare? So that's where that came from. If that needs to be worded different, if somebody can make that clear in there, I have no problem with that, but that was really what that's all about.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Mr. Chairman, all of these instances, they're just adopting recommendations on here that they're sending forward. This is a parish-wide group of people that represent the parish. That's a committee, and they're adopting recommendations for content standards and programming shown. They formulate recommendations for criteria for underwriting. They evaluate and recommend technology. They recommend personnel requirements. All goes through the process that they have there. I think that is, I'm very comfortable with that. They're making recommendations. They're not making requirements. They're not making any appointments. And it can go from there. And I think it's adequate as it is with those things.
Mr. McConnell.
My feeling on this is, as far as cooking shows, I was watching ETEL Channel 4 the other night. And I watched a cooking show. Kevin Boudreau's mother, in French, showing how to make the old French shrimp etouffee. We have a couple of local firms, Maxine Crump comes to mind, Clint Falcon come to mind, who are out there independently producing local entertainment flavor shows. I'd like to go ahead and get this on the air, and I don't really have a problem with the ordinance, I guess, one way or the other. I do have, I agree with the parish president with his concerns that they need to be addressed. But I don't see, this is not a public access channel, it's a government channel. And I'm not particularly in favor of putting Quilting Bees and cooking shows because we have Cox 21 and ETEL, Cox 4 and ETEL 4, and they are both willing to put those shows on. And so if we're allowed to give some direction or more, I don't know how much oversight and how much direction we have to give to this particular body, this new level of bureaucracy that we're about to add to parish government. But I don't want to see a Quilting Bee on the government access channel. But I'm perfectly happy to see it on ETEL Channel 4 or Cox Channel 4. So if we have, Mr. Babin, do we have the authority in this ordinance to overrule the?
This board has no powers other than to recommend. They are a recommending board. I drafted the ordinance. A couple councilmen, Councilman Fontenot, Councilman Shakespeare.
And I'm a member of strategic planning.
So all we did was basically made it as a recommending body, very similar to the Recreation Commission. Under the parish charter, nobody can spend the money except unless the parish president recommends it and you adopt it in a budget. So they can't spend the money. And so all we did was make it in a recommending body. Like, these are the things we want on, these are the things we don't want on. So, I mean, I just took a stab at drafting what I thought the council had intended. Y'all were free to...
I understand, and got to shoot at my parish president here for a moment. I'm disappointed that the administration didn't come and address these particular issues while it was in committee, because it did come before us a few times. But I understand the concerns that you have, and I'm willing to work with you. But I think it's probably time to move forward with the ordinance, and if there are some problems with it, then we work it out at a later time, and particularly those items that you pointed out, Mr. President, where it talks about hiring of people and recommending equipment and stuff, because we do have Mr. Osborne on staff, and that's his job, and that's what he does, and administration also hires people to do this. So I'll go ahead and support this ordinance, but I'd really like us to continue looking at it, and I certainly would hope the council would have tight oversight on the actions of this board.
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President.
First of all, let me correct my good friend, Mr. McCollum, that I did. If you'll go back and see your emails about a month ago, you'll see that I said we don't need any more boards in the parish. We created economic development, and we created a waterway. And so the administration certainly did state a position in this and asked you to really consider this. Now, and I understand, I met with Mr. Babin on this week, and we talked about it. I was in a personnel committee meeting the other day, and some of you expressed a concern about an ordinance the administration was putting forward, and we certainly listened to you, and we backed off on some things. I'm expressing some concerns. Now, I think under Section 5, and I want to save this to after we have some discussion, I don't see this as just a recommendation here. The parish shall supply the board a place to meet. Well, that's obvious. We can meet and such administrative support as is reasonable to fulfill this function, including secretarial help for record keeping. Now, our meeting today with Martin and Jerry and I and Mr. Babin and Diane, we talked about this and all the committees. We're paying people overtime now to go to all these meetings, keeping them away from their families and things. And so we're addressing that to get some help to the council where you guys can have some of your own people on the legislative side of government to cover these meetings. So as I understand this, Mr. Babin, is this shall include paying for secretarial help. That's not a recommendation here. This means that the parish, if we adopt this ordinance, shall pay people to go and take minutes for this meeting and so forth. Is that correct understanding that I have?
It says you will provide secretarial help if needed, reasonable. If they're a public board of body, they got to keep minutes. They got to keep minutes. Somebody's got to type them. I'm just trying to keep us out of a box by having a public entity that meets and doesn't have the proper records. You got to have one. You got to have the other. You're going to have a board. You got to have records and opens meetings laws and the whole gamut.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. I point out, and I think Cox 4 or E-Tel, whatever you guys mentioned, I don't think they've got an advisory board choosing what they're putting on those programs. And I just think we have to be very careful if you're going to put government in a position of deciding we're going to show, let's say, for example, I've got a horse show and we're going to not show that one, but Coach Shakespeare got a bed and breakfast show. We're going to decide to show that. I think we're putting citizens in a very tough situation on what you're going to show and not show. And I think we're putting the parish in a situation. If you're not sure of this, please go talk to some of the attorneys. If you're not sure the difference between a public access channel and a government access channel, there's certainly a liability there. And if you select one over the other. Now, when I talked to Mr. Babin the other day on community standards, do we have written community standards for decency, pornography, and so forth? And it seems like we have an area there. And you're getting into all of this when you get into this kind of program, into community standards. And so I'm expressing my concerns with that. If you want to have a board over public television or a public access channel, if you want to rent that, I won't stand in your way at all. If you're going to have a board over the government access channel, I will veto it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hillensbeck.
I understand the parish president's concerns on this, and I also I'm concerned with the change of going back from 9 members being appointed to serve on this board, this body, to 7, because I happen to think if we are going to move this forward and we're going to create this board, I'd like to see 9 people appointed just so that we have a better cross-section of people across the parish serving. And I think it's important that we have more than a few, okay, or more than 7. I like the idea of the original ordinance as it came out and it was introduced with 9. So if we're going to do 7, I think I'm going to vote against it tonight.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Hillenbeck, it doesn't matter to me whether it's 9, 7, or 16. It doesn't really matter. We've been discussing this thing for years. We've had public access, government access channel that we showed programs in the past. This is done all over the country. This is not any rocket science. It's just something let's get our TV station back on the air with some programming that we have, and we definitely want to show every meeting in its entirety live as possible throughout every government meeting that we have, and on the other times that we can, we want to give the people a chance to watch something for Ascension Parish with Ascension Parish people that we put forward. And I will support however number that you wish to have this on. We've appropriated the necessary monies to do this. It's paid for by the cable people that are going to view this, and there's excess money to use to spend for infrastructure in the parish. So I think it's a good thing for everyone, and I would like to move forward.
Yeah, and just one other comment about the delay. I know we had a drainage board meeting on February 6th, which I did a PowerPoint presentation on the Marvinboro pump station, and I've been after Randy Osborne to get it on the air. Of course, he's been fighting equipment problems, and I think they finally got it on maybe last night or night before last. But I encourage the public to watch my PowerPoint. It's a long meeting. It's at the end. And see what I have to say about that pump station. Thank you.
Is there any opposition to the motion?
Hold on a second, Chairman.
Oh.
I mean, if Mr. Hillensbeck can get a plug in for his PowerPoint, I need to make one point.
Mr. Valentine, you got the floor.
I just got one thing to say, and I appreciate everybody around here. I appreciate Martin, and everybody's got good ideas. And you know, Martin was right. I mean, he admitted it, and I'm gonna admit it too. I mean, past president, you have administration that goes to these meetings, our committee meetings. It's set up that way. And you had ample opportunity to look at all of this, or they had ample opportunity to address you with this, and this could have been addressed at the strategic planning meeting. And there's one thing about this ordinance and forming this advisory board, it's done properly, because that's how the charter says it. And I know you didn't like a whole lot of boards, but you formed a lot of them since you've been parish president. The impact fee, you formed a committee with developers, real estate people, cross-section. You had an advisory board. You got 20 people. You told us the other night you got 20 people as an advisory board or some type of commission or something, or a group of people with Lamar Dixon. I don't even have the list of those people. You said you already had a meeting. I don't even know who's on it. So, I mean, you know, you don't really have that power. You got an advisory board for yourself, that's fine. This is an advisory board for this council, and it came through the proper channels, it went through a committee, and by golly, this is the way it's supposed to be done. And so, you know, am I right? Did you not form, you told us the other night you had 20 people that you got with Lamar Dixon to advise you.
Let me know, Mr. Chair.
I'm finished.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to answer Councilman Valentine. Parish President does not form any permanent boards or commissions. I do call people, volunteers, citizens in to give us input on the executive branch of government when considering issues, and they go away. Impact fee met for several months. Community was invited to public hearings. When it's over with, they go away. They're not permanently there. We're not paying secretarial help. We hold them doing normal business hours primarily. So people who are working are not being paid overtime. And so, to me, that's just like the executive branch has those people to help us get input. And so you're incorrect, Mr. Valentine. They are not permanent boards. They're not created by ordinance. They're just a advisory panel, a group of citizens to sit and talk about different issues. Whereas when you put it in ordinances, like you recently said, when we talked, you didn't want to do an ordinance on some personnel issues, because ordinance on the some changes to that. Because we put it in an ordinance, it becomes permanent. And so I understand that, and I respect and appreciate that. But you're absolutely incorrect in that. Yeah, there are some advisory groups I've asked to meet and talk, but they've been input from the committee, impact fees, the people on the council were involved in that. The parish council, Lamar Dixon Committee, which is composed of 4 members of this governing authority, asked me to get a group of citizens to meet with them in the administration to put together a discussion and plans on Lamar Dixon. Now, if you're not part of that committee, that's not my problem. There was 4 individuals on that committee, on the council, asked us to do that. They asked us to do one other thing in the last meeting that they held, and that was to get an appraisal of the property. And we have done both of those things. And I thank the 4 members on that committee. I don't remember. I think it's Martin and Doug and Adrian and Kent. And so they had asked us to do 2 things the last time they held a meeting: get a group of citizens together and talk about this, and then get an appraisal done so we see the value of the property. And the administration has done both of those things at the request of the governing authorities committee that was formed by the leadership of the governing authority to work on the Lamar Dixon issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? Any opposition to the motion?
Based on the number, I
One objection, Mr. Hill. Number 35, public hearing to consider an ordinance repealing section 18.1 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance to dissolve the Ascension Parish Civic Center Commission. Mr. Batten.
This is the final leg of a long trip that we've made to repeal and to fix the leases at the Civic Center. This is to repeal Section 18.1 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance to dissolve the Ascension Parish Civic Center Commission. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council hereby repeals Section 18.1 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance is thereby dissolving the Ascension Civic Center Commission.
Do I hear a motion to open public hearing? Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, open public hearing, second by?
I'll do it.
Second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any opposition? Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this particular public hearing?
motion to close.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert,
I'll do that one.
second by Mr. McCollum, close the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 36, the ordinance itself. Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Byron. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, he has to be.
Before we adjourn, Mr. Shakedown's got an announcement. Mr. Shakedown.
I'm frustrated with it, too.
I just wanted to make an announcement real quick on the strategic planning meeting. We were asked to announce that the Corps and SJB and Shaw are going to make a presentation for riverfront development. They have their plans ready, and they wanted to make a presentation then. So we welcome everybody to come.
Is that a two-thirds motion to amend the
Chairman,
agenda?
motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Byrick, second by Mr. Ms. Fontenot. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Good night, everybody.